It's episode 99.
Ooh,
Last two-digit episode.
that's exciting.
This is where finally my, because you know the way I save the files and how I number things. This is where my use of 3 digits was justified. Or it will be with the next one, but...
What do you mean the use of 3 digits? Like you label all your things like 099?
Exactly, yeah. Or I had 001 for the first episode instead of being really pessimistic and saying, just 01's enough.
Right.
No, we're going for the 3 digits.
Well, here's the sad news. I'm retiring today.
I don't believe that. And even if you retire, I'm going to make sure that there's a next episode.
All right, you just do episode 100 by yourself.
Sure,
Yeah.
I'll just use AI. It doesn't matter, really. Remember, our dream was eventually to have AI pick the topics and then have a conversation and use our voices. So maybe that'll happen. Who knows?
So what do you have today? Otherwise, we're going to have to ask AI.
Let's talk about the thing that I didn't get a chance to talk about last time. Irritants. Let's talk about irritants.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Well, no, I'm talking about, I'm not saying like life-changing things, but just for example, and this is something I noticed, again, I would have brought it up last week, but I figured why not now? So tags on clothing that scratch at your neck. You ever have this problem? Now, usually, let me tell you the anecdote. I'm not a fan of mutilating clothing, and that includes ripping off the tags, cutting off the tags, whatever. I never liked that.
Yeah, no, I hate that. Yeah.
Not only because I feel for the clothing, it feels unnecessary. It's like a circumcision for the piece of clothing.
Right.
But the other reason why I don't like removing them is because, well, sometimes I need to know the size. What if I really don't know the size after that? Like, because most of the time they'll put the size on the little tag and there's no other way to know. Oh, is this a medium? Is this a small, large, whatever? And that's the other reason why I never really liked removing them. But man, this one was getting to me. So This tag, I don't know. And I'm actually wearing the thing. I think that was it this one? I think it was. I'm trying to feel it now, but it doesn't matter. The point is, I was wearing this, and it's a good piece of clothing. It's like a hoodie, zip-up hoodie, whatever. But the tag was driving me nuts. I don't know why. I don't know why that day I felt the need to just remove it. I had to remove it. It was bothering the hell out of me, like no other tag before that. And, they make these tags out of the worst material possible as well, sometimes. Sometimes they're nice. They're like, I don't know what, silky, smooth. And then other times they're just grainy like a piece of sandpaper. Yeah, so I had to remove it. So the question then is, like, do you suffer from this? Because you just said that you don't remove tags.
I don't remove tags.
So you bear it? Because I'm sure that
I bear it.
You bear it. Wow.
I bear it.
Okay.
Yep. I don't think I've ever had one that, I've had one, I'm sure I've had some that, have bothered me a little bit, but I don't think I've ever had one that's like super duper bad. Like to the point where like, I just got to get this freaking thing out,
Like you dig at it until your neck starts bleeding.
That's right. Till your neck starts bleeding. That's right. Like it's in my skin, so I just have to.
It's attaching itself to me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't think I've ever had it like that, quite frankly. So I think I just bear it.
That's interesting, though. I mean, it's true. Like, but what is your reason for not removing them?
I don't know. I just don't like to remove them. They're part of the shirt. You're supposed to keep them on there. They're not to be removed.
I feel like some of them are, though. Sometimes I see that, like, you can remove whatever it is. But maybe that's not necessarily that tag on the back.
Well, maybe. Yeah, you might be right.
But sometimes they have the washing instructions as well. That's the other thing.
I don't care about that. Just throw it in the friggin' washing machine.
Wow, what if it's dry clean only or something, right?
I have never seen a t-shirt. Like, I wear t-shirts. And I wear button-up things, right?
Uh-huh.
I don't wear anything that's dry clean only.
What about your suits? Those fancy Christmas suits?
Yeah, but I wear them once a year. I don't even have to wash. Like, I wear them for like 4 hours. I've never washed a single one of those.
Wow, okay. They have the smell of Christmas past every year.
That's yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've never washed something like that. Maybe like my winter coat. That's probably dry clean only. I don't wear that. Like my good one, I don't wear that very often.
You don't wear it to sleep?
I have to wash it, but no, I don't wear it to sleep. Can't say I do. Can't say I wear my winter coats.
It's
to sleep.
too loud. I don't know if you noticed, but the coats are very loud, and I wouldn't want to sleep in one. It's too noisy.
I don't know what that. I literally don't know what that means.
You know, like when it has that sound of shuffling when you're wearing a coat like that.
Oh no, I have a very nice coat that does not shuffle.
Well, what's the material?
I don't know off the top of my head.
So you're saying that if you move your arms a little bit, you don't hear a shuffling noise?
No,
Wow. Okay,
it's a
that is
very nice
fancy.
coat. It's one of
Fancy.
those. No, it's one of those coats that like it's not like the kind you pick up in Walmart or whatever, and it's like the fucking nylon or whatever. It's like the kind like where did I get it? I got it at like an actual suit store.
It's a coat worthy to be buried in.
Yes, you could bury me in this coat.
Wow. So eventually you'll be sleeping in it.
Yeah, that's right. I'm keeping it specifically for that. I don't even wear it that much. I usually wear the cheap ones. I don't want to wear my good coat.
You're saving it for a rainy day.
Exactly. That's how nice it is. Like, I won't even wear it. I wore it like the first year, and then I was like, I really want this thing to last, even if it means I never wear it again.
Do you know the brand? You got to know the brand so you can try to get sponsored by them.
No, I don't know the brand, unfortunately.
You could advertise it as being, it's the right coat to be buried in.
Look, I'll tell you. Here, give me 1 sec. I'm going to go get this nice winter coat. It's hanging on my thing, just very close to me, so I'll be right back. All right, what do we got here? Joseph Aboud.
Joseph Aboud. Okay, I think I heard that name before.
That's the brand. Can't read the tag. It's very small.
But it's still there. You haven't removed it.
The tag is still there.
Well, yeah, Joseph Aboud is certainly a menswear fashion designer.
Why do you say it like that?
Well, because he looks like the stereotypical one, you know?
Okay.
Really prim and proper, wearing a little scarf in one of the photos.
It's 54% wool, 37% polyester, 8% rayon, 3% other fiber.
The fact that it's wool, that makes it so that it's certainly quite quiet.
Yes, it is a very quiet coat.
It's not a nylon coat, as you said, meaning that you're definitely able to sleep comfortably in it, and you can proudly wear it to your grave.
It's one of those longer coats, but not like really. I do have a longer one that goes like right down my legs, but this one's longer than a normal coat. Probably goes down to like close to my knees.
Okay, so you still have to wear pants.
Unfortunately, yes.
You save the long one for when you're very tired and your pants are in the wash.
That's right. Yeah, and then I do have a really, really long. Yeah, it's a really, really long one.
That one's a trench coat.
Yeah, that one's a trench coat pretty much. And that one I wear when it's like really, really, really cold.
Oh, that's a warm one. Okay.
Yeah, it's actually not bad. Yeah, it's not bad. I don't know if it's specifically a winter coat, but I don't know. I feel like it's pretty good. I have 3 coats I use at various points in the winter as necessary. But global warming has made it so, it's not as big of a deal anymore.
It's just a fashion statement now.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well, that's really good to know.
That's the exciting story of my winter coats.
Your Joseph Aboud winter coat.
That was when I was on a kick so I got this coat. I got this coat when I was on a kick for dressing like a little bit nice, just a little bit nicer. So like I had this period of time where I went into, God, what are those, some of those suit stores or whatever they are. I can't remember what the brand is, the franchise is. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to get a bunch of like sports, I guess not sports jackets, but those kind of things. The ones that you can like wear every day and look a little bit nicer and all that kind of stuff. So I was like,
leisure
I'm gonna
suits?
get some of those. Yeah, leisure suits.
Like Leisure Suit Larry? Did you ever get a white one? A white
and
leisure suit?
I never got one.
Oh, okay.
But just the jackets, not like the whole suit.
You don't need the pants.
And I like looked into, I don't have them anymore because I kind of bounced off of it. But for a long time, I had like bookmarks here on like what type of jacket and what color jacket and what material jacket to wear when.
Oh, wow. So like if you're going to a wedding, you got to wear this. If you're going to a funeral,
No, this was not
wet.
This was not like, no. This was not super fancy formal attire. This was like look up Greg House. Like look up House from the TV show House. He always wears like an over jacket.
Uh-huh. So you wanted
I
to
don't
look like House.
No, but that's the type of coat that I'm talking about. Like he always wears that kind of thing. Whatever it's called. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but I knew what it was. So it was just everyday stuff I wear to work, stuff you wear out, all that kind of stuff, just nicer clothes, just a perception of nicer clothes, but not like corporate CEO, tie, $1 million shoes, $1 million watch, etc. Just literally a coat.
So like a blazer.
Blazer, that's the word. Yeah.
Ah, okay.
So I was going looking for blazers, and I would like Google like, okay, this time of year you're gonna wear, in fall you want to wear a lighter color or whatever, and you match it up with this kind of shirt and all that kind of stuff. So I was kind of on that kick. So I went into a store. It was close to wintertime, and I bought a couple coats, and they were like, "Oh, do you have something for the winter?" I was like, "No." And they showed me this one, and it was very nice. I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get this." I never had a nice winter coat, right? I always get my winter coats from Walmart or whatever, and I'm like, I want a nice one. So I get the nice winter coat,
The quiet one.
the quiet one, yeah. And then summer came around. I was like, "Oh, I got to get new colors," but I never ended up getting new colors, so I just wore my old suits. But then it's just too hot to wear the blazers. It's just too hot to wear blazers.
I'm always
in the
impressed
summer.
by people who wear fancy clothing during the summer. Hell, even the people who wear pants during the summer, which I know you're not a fan of shorts, so I'm always impressed with people who wear long pants during the summer. It's
Yeah,
like,
I don't own
God,
any shorts. Yeah, I don't own any shorts.
your legs must be sweating,
Yeah,
just dripping. It's like a faucet in there.
yeah. Maybe I run hotter than the normal person, but I don't wear shorts. I don't own any shorts. I haven't owned shorts in probably since I was like 12 years old. I just don't do it. Same with like long sleeve stuff though. So it's kind of opposite. Like I don't have a lot of like I don't wear sweaters.
You like to show off your arms, but not your legs.
Yeah, exactly. So like in the winter I don't wear sweaters. In the summer I don't wear shorts. So I'm just all kinds of messed up.
So how do you warm yourself up in the winter if you don't have anything to protect your arms?
I don't. What do you mean?
So you put the coat on top of a
My
shirt.
house is theoretically my house is supposed to be warm.
No, but like if you go out, that means that you put the coat on top of a t-shirt or something with
Yes.
short sleeves. Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. Okay. So you definitely want an interior lining to be comfortable because it needs to mimic a sweater.
I mean, I guess I never thought of that, but
Well, you wouldn't want a nylon like it's icky, I think, isn't it? When you have a coat that has just like, like a windbreaker type coat where it's just nylon and you're outside and you have this discrepancy between where your skin is and where the shirt starts, and then the nylon is pressing on your skin as you're out. And especially when you're shoveling snow or something and you get sweaty and that sweat sticks to the nylon. That's an awful feeling. Like I know that
I honestly
feeling.
never have worried about that. Like I said, my normal coat is probably nylon or whatever. Like I said, it's a cheap Walmart coat.
Impressive then. Look at you. You don't have any irritants, do you?
No. Well, I have one.
We're talking minor irritants, by the way. We're not talking about the major ones. We can leave that to a psychiatrist.
Oh.
Yeah. But I'm talking like the feeling of the nylon on the skin when you're sweating, or in my case, the tag scratching my neck.
Let's see. What is so you're talking about like physical irritants.
It doesn't have to be physical. I mean, it could be psychological, I guess, but psychological is usually more serious, but it could be that.
No, I probably don't have any irritants or none that I can think of.
You've achieved Zen.
No, I don't know. I feel like I feel like I'm old enough now where I've either gotten used to it or I've learned to stay away from it. You know what I mean?
Okay, but you do have them then. It's not
Well,
like
I don't. Well, I don't know. I'm just saying like maybe if it came up, I would like be able to tell you. But off the top of my head, like I've just learned. I could have learned to stay away from it 10 years ago. I'm not gonna remember what it was. I will say one thing. Okay, I'll say one irritant that I actually really do hate, or one thing that really irritates me in the winter. I hate artificial heat. Is what I hate.
Okay, like from a furnace, or what do you mean?
Yeah, because it dries out my skin, and that's a horrible feeling. When you have like really dry hands and really dry like arms or whatever, like that's a terrible feeling.
And they start to crack. I don't know if you have this problem, but like when you make a fist with your hands, the knuckles. I have this issue when it's really dry. They would start to crack a little bit, so there's potential bleeding there as well when that happens.
Mine don't crack, but like my forearms will get very like white.
Uh-huh.
Like they look very white and like almost like they have like dust or something on them, but they don't.
Yeah, that's what happens when it's dry. It's like a desert. Your skin becomes a desert.
So when I get to like that level, that really irritates me.
So do you
That's like
moisturize?
that's like a physical irritant. No, I don't moisturize actually. That's one that I just suck up, but I hate it. And it's unavoidable,
Well, or
like because
you're
every
either
winter
cold,
that's
you're
what
either
you
cold
have.
or you're
Yeah.
warm. And you're either cold and feel like your skin is supple, uh, or you're warm but your skin is a desert.
Actually, this raises a very good question. What do you prefer being? Too cold or too hot?
I'd prefer to be too cold if I was able to actually put on layers to mitigate that, because you can't take off any more than a certain point when you're too hot. But if you are, it's a hard decision to make if you have no choice in the matter, though, because let's say you're too cold. Basically, would you rather die from overheating or from overcooling?
I'm not saying it's going to kill you. I'm just saying at the level where it's uncomfortable.
Okay, but again, the other question is, if you put it this other way, would you rather be in a hot sauna, or would you rather take a dip in the ice cold, how the Finnish people do it, in the ice cold water?
You know what? That's actually an interesting contrast because I would rather be cold than hot. I hate being hot. I feel like it's a terrible feeling. And, part of that again is like if you're hot, there's like almost no way to cool down.
Yeah.
Like there's almost nothing. Whereas if you're cold, there are things you can do, even small things to make small differences, where you can curl up a little bit or, put your hands between your legs or under your arms or whatever. There's small things you can do even if you don't even if you can't put layers on or something like that, just to increase your body temperature just a little bit. Whereas you don't really have that option when you're hot. And the sweating is horrible. In the heat, the sweating is horrible. It's a very inconvenient thing, especially if you're out and about. Now, that being said, when you're in a sauna, you kind of just can sweat. You know what I mean?
You're allowed to.
Yeah. So I like cold more than I like hot, but I think I would definitely prefer sauna over a polar bear dip.
No, I think I agree. And that's why it's weird, right? That you have this contrast. I think it's because with the polar bear dip, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they don't stay in there too long, but it's more of like a sudden change. Whereas in the other case of like, would you rather be too cold or too hot? It's like it's a prolonged exposure to both of these. And in that case, cold, it's over the course of a long period of time. Okay, that's better than being exposed to heat over the course of a long period of time. Whereas if in a sauna, it's again, you shouldn't be in there for too long, so you're in and out. Versus you're in and out of the freezing cold water. I'll take the sauna. But I think it has to do with the time period, the length of time that you're subjected to the extreme heat or cold.
But I think even if we're talking like, okay, we're not talking about well, yeah, I guess you're still having that initial shock. But even if you're not talking about a polar bear dip, but an ice bath, like I still would prefer a sauna than an ice bath. Like there's people out sitting in an ice bath for like 10, 15 minutes, as long as, like, I don't know how long you're supposed to sit in a sauna for, but I would imagine as long as you sit in a sauna. And I still would prefer a sauna over an ice bath. Like, screw that. But I will say, look, in the summer when I'm showering, you shower with warm water, hot water, whatever. But at the end of my shower in the summertime, I do make the water cold because I'm like, I need to cool my butt. Like at that point, my body temperature is so high, and there's like so few ways to cool down. Right? I'm like, I just got to sit here for a minute in cold water, even though I hate it.
But it's healthy.
Even though I hate it, I got to sit there. Also, yeah, I've heard that it's healthy to kind of end your shower with cold. But I don't do it in the winter. But I'll do it in the summertime. But it's more just about trying to lower my body temperature before I have to get out into the freaking hot air again.
It's a very good thing that we're warm-blooded creatures, because just imagine how it feels for a lizard, where it's like it's all controlled by outside factors, whereas at least our bodies can self-regulate the temperature. It'd be so much worse if we couldn't do that.
That is true. It would suck to be a...
Because, you talk about the sweating being inconvenient, but man, if we couldn't sweat, that'd be terrible. That's a really important feature of humans.
No, that's true. It could be much worse. But then I just sleep all the time. You know what? Being cold-blooded wouldn't be too bad. You would just sleep.
Well, I guess, yeah, but
I'm okay. I'm okay with that. Just let me sleep.
what's the difference between sleeping all the time and just being dead?
You dream when you sleep.
You don't know if you dream or not when you're dead. Who knows? Maybe somehow it still happens.
I'm not holding my breath on being able to dream when I'm
Well,
dead.
yeah, fair enough.
That's just not a reality for me. No, because you can wake up. No, sleeping for a long time is not fun. I guess really when I sleep a long time is when I'm sick. So that's probably a good chunk of it. But it's very hard for me to sleep for a long time. I'm a light sleeper, and I'm a I'm restless sleeper.
Rowdy sleeper.
Yeah, yeah,
You take on your wrestling persona when you're sleeping.
that's right. Yeah, I do elbow drops.
Yeah, you don't even know what happened to your bed when you wake up.
Yeah, it's in pieces. A couple times it's in pieces. Mattresses torn apart, teeth marks, all that stuff.
But restless sleeping, yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I'm a restless sleeper. Like I toss and turn, and it's so hard for me to get comfortable. And sometimes I get lucky and I sleep through the night, or I sleep for a good chunk of time, and I go, wow, that was nice. But most of the time, there's very rarely like a comfortable position for me to stay in. So it's always, roll over, back, front, side, left side, right side, inside out, upside down.
Even after you've fallen asleep, or is this only when you're falling asleep that you struggle?
No, it's even when I'm asleep, like I'll like wake up and have to move.
See, I don't know. I mean, like, I guess I'm very lucky in that sense that I don't have this problem once I've fallen asleep. But I think a lot of people have this issue with sleeping. I don't know. Maybe it's gotten worse over the years, but geez, it seems like it's more common than it should be to have problems sleeping. Not even falling asleep, but just like sleeping during the night, staying asleep.
It's hard. If you don't have that issue, that's a great thing, because we've talked about it before, like, investing in a good bed, etc., because you spend so much time in it. Like it's kind of the same principle. Like if you have a restless sleep, like that affects
Everything.
everything. Yeah. So if you're able to sleep well, you are, in my opinion, in a very lucky boat. Now, that being said, somebody's not going to break into my house and kill me because I'll be awake at the first sign of any sound. But
That's true. You're your own alarm dog.
yeah, that's right. That's right. And I have a very good, maybe it's just coincidental, but I have a very good like internal clock.
Oh, so you can wake up without an alarm.
Yeah. Well, I don't push that, but like I would say more often than not, I'll wake up like within 15 minutes of my alarm.
Plus
like
or
before.
minus. Or before.
Like no, not plus.
Well, I mean, it's fine, right? Plus 15 minutes. Okay. No worries.
No, I'm pretty good at waking up like before my alarm clock goes off, within a reasonable amount of time. Like I said, like 15 minutes. I don't know why. I don't know what controls that.
Maybe it's the routine that you've gotten used to already.
No, but it doesn't even matter, because like I would say I have different times throughout the week that I wake up at. Like I don't wake up at the same time every day.
Especially on the weekend, right?
Well, on the weekend, but whether I work from home or whether I work from at the office, I wake up at different times. And then on weekends, I wake up at different times. And then whether I'm doing a podcast or not also determines, if I have something going on, also determines when I wake up. So, because I want to get up earlier if I'm doing a podcast, so that I have a little bit more time to, get things done, right? So, I have different times, and I still wake up before the alarm clock. So there's no like regulation going on. Like, I'm not able to regulate.
That's impressive.
I don't know, but it also just might be a coincidence. Maybe I'm just such a restless sleeper, and I've never really like timed it or anything like that. That I wake up every 15 minutes, and maybe that's just why it happens.
That's scary. Can you imagine if you actually woke up every 15 minutes and just, kind of didn't realize it because you're in a somber state at those previous times? And it's only that one where it's like, oh, it's so close to the alarm, I might as well wake up now. It's only that one that you remember. That's a scary thought. Come on. That's crazy.
It is kind of weird because like, if I have to get up like really briefly, like I don't really, it's weird the way, the way the brain works. I don't really remember it. Like on Friday, I woke up really early because I'd take garbage out, and then I went back to sleep. And then when I got up for real, I was answering work emails, and I answered one, and I was like, oh, so-and-so emailed me last night and whatever. And then I went back and looked, and I was like, oh, it wasn't last night, it was this morning. So I must have woken up, did garbage, checked my emails real quick on my phone, And I pushed that backwards in time to last night, and I did to the night before, and I didn't even remember that. And I just thought it was last night, the night before that I dealt with it, but it was like that morning. And then I went right back. Like I couldn't have been awake for more than like 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, whatever. And then I went back to sleep, and I didn't remember like almost any of it. Like, I remember taking the garbage out, but that was it.
So you might be living a double life every 15 minutes during your sleep period. You'll do something for 15 minutes, you'll wake up for 15 minutes, you'll do something, you'll go back to sleep for some period of time. You'll wake up again for 15 minutes, you'll continue doing something else. You're like a little elf that fixes things while the real you is sleeping.
There you go. Maybe that's what's happening.
Do you notice things are being changed by the next day?
No, I can't say I do, unfortunately.
You're a lazy little elf then.
I could leave the house. Maybe I leave the house.
That's I guess, yeah, but seems like it's a lot to do for 15 minutes. It'd have to be something close by.
Yeah, no, unfortunately I don't think that's the situation, but like I think I know when I wake up, just I don't necessarily remember what I did.
Yeah, I mean, at least you don't sleepwalk. That's a brutal thing people have to deal with, I guess, when they sleepwalk.
Yeah, because some of them walk out the door and all that kind of stuff. Sleepwalking would be a scary thing, I think. You got to take a lot of precautions in that case. Sometimes you don't even know. There's stories like, oh, I didn't even know they were sleepwalking. They'll be interacting with somebody. I didn't even know you were sleepwalking.
Because their eyes would be open and stuff?
Well, they'd be coherent, and, sometimes they're just, but they don't remember any of it, right? So.
Double life. Living a double life.
Double life. That's right. It's almost like schizophrenia, or I guess not schizophrenia, but like multiple personality disorder or something. But it's only when you're asleep.
That's when the other personality has its time to shine.
Yep, exactly. So if you can sleep through the night, you're very lucky, in my opinion. That's one of the best types of luck, I feel. One of the best situations to find yourself in. If you can sleep through the night. Screw sleeping on a plane or, whatever. Or, I know there's people that can't sleep on a plane or whatever, but none of that matters. If you can sleep through the night, that's the important one.
Well, yes.
I guess unless
sleeping
you
on
live
a plane.
on a plane.
Yeah, sleeping on a plane is
Yeah.
off the table for me. I'm not good at that. But thankfully, I don't have to travel much.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's definitely a good trait to have, a good perk to have, whatever you want to put it in video game lingo.
Yeah, it's true. And then, if you can sleep through the night, you're probably more rested in the morning. And
that's the most important thing I find is that I worry about people who don't sleep well because that affects everything, right? We talked about it. It affects everything in your day-to-day. And looping back around to irritants, I find that when I don't get enough sleep, those irritants bother me more. So like maybe that day when the tag was really bothering me, maybe the fact that it was really bad was in addition to the fact that I was very tired. Or just, I don't know, didn't get enough sleep.
Yeah, not getting enough sleep, that can definitely affect me. I can definitely be more irritable during the day. I don't know. I feel like I'm used to it, I'm not really, you can't really get used to it, but like you just kind of learn. Like I'm very, I get tired very often and all that, probably because I don't sleep well at night, but you just kind of get used to it. So it has to be like especially a good, like I'm tired, but I try not to let it affect my mood too much, and so, unless sometimes it's especially egregious. I only get like 3 hours of sleep at night, then it'll affect me. But I'm a jerk anyways, so it doesn't even.
Well, yeah, just imagine if you consistently got a good night's rest every time, your personality might be like a 180 completely.
That's right.
People would actually be scared of you. They'd be like, "What do you want? Why are you being so kind to me?" It's so
nice?
weird.
Yeah.
That'd be because that's an experiment to run against anybody who suffers from it, because you never know what kind of personality will erupt if they change their sleeping pattern to be better, or have the opportunity to have a better sleep pattern.
I don't know. I don't think a personality would change very much just because you got more sleep.
Can you imagine if some of the murderers out there, if only they had more sleep?
That's right. Yeah. Why'd you shoot that person? I just didn't have enough sleep last night, officer.
All is forgiven.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't think there's major personality changes because of no sleep. I think there can be major personality changes because of pain, but I don't necessarily think there can be major, unless it's like really, really, really bad sleep.
Well, yeah, insomnia.
Like if you're getting like an hour and a half a night or something. Yeah, insomnia.
Because at that point, mental disorders can manifest, right? Other things might be popping up as a result of the lack of sleep.
That's right. But I mean, if you can lay down for 6 hours or whatever, even if it's restless. As long as it's not completely restless. As long as you're drifting in and out, Like if you're just laying in bed for 6 hours, just staring at the ceiling, that's that's the insomnia part. But if you're drifting in and out, then I think you're probably okay. You're probably okay. Maybe a little bit more irritable, but not
at the level of a murderer.
Not a new personality emerging. On that note, on the talk of new personalities, we watched Ernest Goes to Camp. That's Jim Varney playing the personality of Ernest P. Worrell, as he's a camp maintenance guy.
Whose dream is to become a counselor.
What a terrible dream that is.
What low aspirations from Ernest, let's be honest.
Yeah, I guess it's a step up from maintenance guy, but I just feel like would that type of person want to be a camp counselor? Like you go into his little hut and he's got it's a complete mess. He's got a pet turtle. In all of that, he had like a bikini calendar on his wall. And I'm like, I don't know. This guy's kind of...
Well, he likes the kids at least, right?
Well,
he gets on with them. He gets on well with them.
That's not the right way to say that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what he aspired to. Very after school, specially campy kind of movie.
The funny thing is, I found the underlying plot of the mining company trying to dismantle the camp. That's a typical 80s TV, made-for-TV movie plot.
Yeah, environmentalism.
Basically environmental. It was something for that show Kung Fu from the 90s, where it was what's his name? David Carradine. Anyway, it was a show where he's a kung fu master. And his son, I think it's his son. He's like the sheriff of the city, of the town, and he gets into these mishaps because of similar situations. I just thought of that. It's like, man, okay, this is like exactly what one of those episodes would have been about, except for the kids throwing food and stuff at the mining company and using high explosives against them. Their own high explosives.
That kind of threw me off at the end there, because I'm like, oh, here, they're protesting. Oh, we got a plan. The plan is just arson, felony levels of vandalism, assault, battery, destruction of property.
That was a brilliant idea, actually, from the kids. You know why? Because they're already in juvenile hall, and they're underage, meaning that they can't charge them as adults. So this is the perfect opportunity to unleash arson and potential murder against the mining corporation.
I guess that's true. And they were setting off explosives, and oh man, that was a wild. And then they got their way. They were like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna pull back." Well, after the main guy comes out and tries to shoot Ernest,
and he uses the spiritual nature of this land to stop the bullets or make the bullets miss. I really thought the last bullet was going to fire, and then, but it's a kid's movie, so
back up the gun, yeah.
It wouldn't have done anything, I guess.
It was the literal definition of what's that theater trope? Chekhov's gun. That's it.
Oh yeah.
They put this scene at the very beginning of the movie, and you go, "What the hell does this have to do with anything?" And then it comes back at the very end where they were like, "Oh, if you have a strong will, or you have a strong."
Which I really don't buy that. I don't think he had any of those, but I guess it just worked out.
No, he should. He had a fucking sniper rifle. He points it right at Ernest. Ernest doesn't even move. There comes after one or two shots, he just stands there and starts taunting him, and he still misses all his shots from 10 feet away. He's using a sniper rifle,
and we know he's a good shot. He was shooting the bottles, foreshadowing.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, there's a point where you can have a good soul, or, be pure of spirit or whatever. But I think a sniper rifle at 10 meters on a human being who's not even trying to move, I think some triage is going to be needed.
Then how it ends with the nurse coming with the cops and saying, "We won. We got a restraining order."
Nobody's given them a restraining order from the... They had a contract.
I just found it hilarious that was the solution. The restraining order against the mining company, or the head of the mining company, or what do you... I don't know. The whole thing, though, was... it was kind of frustrating to watch in a way, because Ernest is an idiot, and...
He's an idiot. That's the whole premise.
It's just sad to me how, yeah, he just keeps getting bullied the whole time, and he just accepts it. And I don't know. It's a terrible lesson to teach children. It's a kids' movie. You're not supposed to teach children that lesson. And I know they're trying to like poke fun at just Ernest, but he's supposed to be the. I don't know who's supposed to be the role model in this movie for a child.
Well, I think Ernest. I think the thing is that Ernest was a very good person.
Yeah, that's true.
And even when he was kind of being picked on and all that, he maintained that. Sometimes you can't let bullies get you down. You just got to be yourself, and if be a good person, even if others aren't. And I think that's just the moral of the story. And then blow up some explosives to drive off a construction company that's trying to deforest.
Yeah, to blow off some steam.
But it was very low budget. Like even from the very beginning when he was on the ladder on the sign, like it was very clear that they were just using perspective and he was just standing on the ground. And then when I don't know if you noticed it, but when the ladder fell and he fell backwards, you could kind of see him like, he didn't fall. You could kind of see him like duck off the screen out of the corner. You could see him like
in the first scene.
Like I say, he didn't fall. You could see him do like something to like move off to the side of the screen after he fell. And then even when they closed the window on him, there was still on his fingers at the beginning, right? There was still like a little, gap in the window. It was like,
for safety, of course.
Well, of course, yeah, but it was pretty low budget.
Well, they didn't show certain things as well because of the low budget. I think they had to cut back on the makeup because there's certain moments where they could have used makeup for wounds and so on. They cut that back a little bit. They didn't show the badgers at all. That was just performance art from Ernest. So things like that. You can tell, yeah, it was definitely a low budget film.
Yeah, it was definitely low budget, something for the kids. And you know what I was surprised at? Because you're like, oh, they don't show certain things. When he got into the fight with the big construction guy, right? It was like a very comedic fight. But at the end, he was on the ground like all bloody.
Yeah, they showed some blood.
I was like, oh my God, I can't believe they showed this.
Yeah, it's a kid's movie, but it's not a toddler movie. Come on.
I guess not, but just the way the fight was, like, it was
pretty brutal.
It wasn't a very serious fight.
No, but it was still pretty brutal, I would say.
I guess it was kind of brutal. He did bang his head off the truck and all that kind of stuff
It was up there with like a wrestling match, basically, which I would say,
yeah, more or less.
Given that it's the same audience potentially, or it allows for the same audience to watch it, because wrestling is for kids as well, right? They don't have a limitation on who can watch it, right?
Right, yeah.
So I don't mean it's for kids only. I just mean that there's no restriction. And so they have to tone it down to that point.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then the golf cart riding around the campground for literally days.
And then even at the end, once it's exploded.
Yeah. And then the kitchen guys. I didn't get the kitchen guys, but I think that's a holdover from when it was just like a sketch thing.
That makes sense.
So I think that's why, because they like never interacted with Ernest at all.
Well, they did. One time they tried to feed him the egg.
Oh, did they?
Egg something or other, and he vomited it out.
Oh, okay.
But it was very
all
brief.
Right.
Yeah, that was the only time.
Yeah, but even when they were like fighting, even when they were doing the vandalism, like those guys were off doing the vandalism in a completely other part of camp.
But I think they were given a signal by Ernest or somebody from the main area. Even the kids who used the lanterns, the two kids who were, one of them was Moose, right? They used the lanterns as a catapult, not catapult, ballista or whatever. Yeah, ballista. And they were away from him as well. So it's like they really positioned them in completely different areas of the camp, which begs the question of like, how in the world did nobody from the mining camp see all of this happening? Like they couldn't have been that far away.
With a big catapult and nobody's questioning it.
They managed to shear the back of the bus off. Like that is impressive for children.
Well, let's be honest. That whole catapult thing looks like, judging by the timeline and all that, it looks like they pulled that whole catapult thing together in like 2 hours.
Even more impressive, yeah. But shearing the metal of a bus, like that's probably the most impressive thing they did, because everything else looked like, okay, you know, kids could probably put this together. I get it. But to use a welding torch to do what they did to the back of the bus, I don't know. And also to remove the seats, right?
Yeah, they really destroyed that bus. Nobody else is coming to that camp.
Well, that's
Nobody
true.
else is, so they should have just let it close down because they're not going back to that camp.
They got to make a new bus.
No parent's gonna let them go back to that camp. Like that story's gonna be in all the newspapers. Camp kids plus camp counselor destroys explosive. Commits a huge number of felonies to drive back construction company. No supervision around. And mining company. No supervision around.
Well, no, the counselor was supervising them. Ernest was.
Who was supervising Ernest on that day? Nobody. The other ones were all packing up and leaving. And then the old chief guy was shooting lemons at them and laughing.
Yeah. Well, he's taken back to his youth of driving off the cowboys.
Driving off the cowboys. Yeah. Yeah. Overall, it was an interesting watch.
It was a mixed bag.
Yeah, it was a mixed bag. Definitely more for kids. Definitely, it had its moments, but it's definitely a kids thing. That's why I like kind of watching these kind of things when I'm older, because you can compare things. Because I remember liking Ernest. Maybe the later ones are a little bit better. This was his first feature movie.
I'd be curious to see how it improves. Because the other thing that first of all, like when I was younger, I never, and even now, I never really liked toilet humor, which there is a lot of in this movie and a lot of kids movies like this. So that never really appealed to me. Hence, probably why I never really got into it when I was young. But the other thing is, I never went to camp.
No, me neither, actually. Yeah.
I never associate with these situations. Like I think Arthur had the same thing, Magic School Bus, all these shows for kids, they would always talk about camp and so on. I'm like, well, I never did this, so this doesn't actually mesh with me at all. And maybe this is one of those Ernest movies that probably would mesh the least, given that the other ones maybe actually like I have some affiliation with.
That is true. Yeah, I've never been to camp.
Because I don't even know, like, is the budget of the camp in this movie, like, because to me, it felt like, man, this is really crappy. Like, who would want to come to this?
It's true. It was kind of a crappy camp, and they were all off on their own, and the groups, like, why were the delinquent? Well, I guess because nobody wanted to be around them, but still, like, most camp counselors, I would imagine, like teachers or whatever, would try to integrate them into everything else. So for them to be off on their own with Ernest, who had what they calculate 5 chances at that point by the end of the movie, who had been given 5 chances, like they were always off on their own doing things, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna go out into the bush today," and the camp counselor was just like, "Okay, just why don't you go wander into the forest, all you little children, especially the little black kid who was like 4 years old."
But at least he was very friendly with Ernest. That's the best part. He was the one who kind of started this whole thing.
He was.
Oh, finally, there's some friendship to be had with Ernest.
That's true. And he bit during that fight, he bit the guy's knee.
Yeah, that's right.
And then he got yeeted, picks him up and just throws him away. I'm like, well, that's a thing. That's a thing. But yeah, no, it came off as a very crappy camp compared to some of the other, ones. Again, I don't know in real life, but compared to even just things I've seen on other programs.
That's why I want to know, like, where is the more realistic perspective? Is it like, are real life camps more like what we saw in Ernest, or more like the rich fancy ones like we see in those other shows or movies? And I wonder, is there like a middle ground? Is it actually a range of bad to really good? Or I don't know. That's why it's hard for me to gauge whether, like, are they poking fun at how cheap it is, or is this like, are they trying to actually be realistic about it?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I liked when they announced the competition. The guy was just like, "Oh, we're gonna have a competition where you make something. Now get to it.
Make anything you want."
He didn't explain anything. He's like, "Oh, last year they made a headdress," and then he's like, "Now get to it." I'm like, "What is this?" What is this? And listen, with the amount of time it took them to build that whole freaking catapult, they would have put that TP together in like 20 minutes. And they were so broken up when it got burned down. And then I'm just like, dude, like, it was 20 minutes of work. Like, just go make another one. And they're crying and upset and all this kind of stuff.
I'm surprised they didn't go burn the kayak that the other guys made.
Oh, that's true. That's what I would have done.
Jeez, like they should have used the gasoline that they left behind. Burned the other.
For a bunch of delinquents, they were kind of wusses. Like,
they were too. Yeah, they were actually too innocent. I guess they needed to show the contrast of like, well, here's these delinquents who are just misunderstood, who are actually good people at heart. Which I guess, that's the lesson they would normally have in these types of movies. But you're right. I mean, they could have been more badass, but that also probably would have been a bad message for children.
Even their tries at like being cool, where they'd say something like amusing and then they'd like do like the hand, not the high five, but like their little like handshake. They do like a double high five or something like that. I'd be like, and they make it so obvious.
I think that was the style of the 80s, right? You could tell that these are 80s kids. It really felt like it. Like the movie captured that era, I think.
And then, but they had the montage towards the beginning when, was it towards the beginning? I don't know. There was a full montage.
About what?
Well, no, I don't remember. But I just remember there being a montage with a song and all that kind of stuff. And I know it was towards the beginning. And I'm like, oh, this is kind of interesting. But then they had musical, Ernest did his musical number.
Yeah, that surprised me. He actually just sang.
At the camp.
And then,
yeah.
And then they sang the song to get the turtle to stop biting Ernest.
Yep. Yeah. By the way, where'd they get all those turtles when they threw them at the construction workers?
I learned, by the way, if you watch the credits, what was the name? Hold on a second. Yes. So if you watch the credits, you'll see that one of the thanks that they give, or like one of the collaborators for the movie, was Gay Patak's Turtle Rodeo. And I think that's where they got all their turtles.
Oh my God.
Apparently it's a known thing. It's a place in Hollywood, I guess, or somewhere that provides the turtles for films.
Hold on though, because I don't even remember any of those turtles looking real.
They did, some of them.
Okay. Oh, that's right. There were a couple times where, I remember there was one where the parachute was coming down and it clearly looked like a real turtle. I'm like, how did they pull this off?
It's the 80s, no PETA. Well, maybe PETA, but not powerful
true,
enough. Yeah. So the past two movies we've had animal cruelty with no repercussions.
We really have, yeah. We really have. But this one a little less egregious though.
30 years later, they've learned their lesson.
I don't know. Overall, it was an interesting watch. Like I said, very after school especially is what it, I saw somebody say that's what it reminded them of, and I'm like, yeah, I agree with that.
But it's still,
Ernest,
it's still pump up the volume for me.
Okay, there you go. Ernest or pump up the volume. Yeah, I think I'll stick with Beautiful Boy. Is anything going to dethrone these movies?
I mean, it's not
these
like
movies
the
have been
movies
going for a little bit.
The thing is, we've seen some good stuff, but a lot of it has been kind of mediocre, let's call it. Not mediocre, but things that are just, they're entertaining, but they don't stay with you, which I would consider Ernest, Old Yeller. They're entertaining, but they're not going to be ones that I think like, man, before I die, I'm going to watch this movie.
But Pump Up the Volume was one of those movies for
Abduction
you.
And Pump Up the Volume? Absolutely.
Oh my God. Not Abduction ever.
I don't know. The Abduction, that might be the movie that plays at my funeral. I might do that. Subject everybody who comes to my funeral to Abduction.
Yeah, there you go. That's right. Here's my dying wish. I wish for everybody at my funeral to watch the movie Abduction as they lower me into the ground.
He died the way he lived. Abducted.
Yep, there you go. But I think the thing is with movies, there are definitely a lot more mediocre and bad ones than there are good ones. So when you're randomizing them like this, you're not going to get masterpieces all the time.
Yeah, but it's not even that we need to have masterpieces because...
Oh, no, we need a masterpiece.
Well, maybe we'll get one, but I'm just saying that, like, Pump Up the Volume, I'm not going to say it's a masterpiece because, again, I can list plenty of movies that I would say are better, but we just haven't rolled them yet.
Right.
If you think about it, if we roll a masterpiece during this randomization session, during the podcast, then it's very unlikely we'll get anything that tops it. So it's actually a good thing that, because do you consider Beautiful Boy a masterpiece? Is that, your favorite movie of all time or close to it?
Well, no. I mean, no. I thought it was a very good movie, though. Yeah, not masterpiece. I'm not talking necessarily about a masterpiece. I'm just talking about like a good movie. But all right, let's see what we pull here. I believe it's my turn. I believe you pulled Ernest and I pulled Old Yeller. So it's my turn here. So here we go. Randomize movie ranking.net. Randomize still has the holiday one up there because I don't know why.
It's Easter.
Do you think it'll pull an Easter? I want to see if it pulls. No, it's pulling Christmas still.
Then they've gotten lazy, complacent because we've advertised them so much they become famous. the movie.
I'm gonna write
rankings
them a
page.
letter. I'm gonna write them a letter. You may, dear movie ranking database, you may know me from the very popular podcast,
Welcome World Wide
Welcome
Web.
World Wide Web. Yeah.
With our millions of millions of loyal listeners.
We're all very upset that you still have the Christmas movie generator on there. And this is really going to affect your public perception given our vast
Billions of
base.
listeners.
Yeah, billions of listeners. So for us and the trillions of listeners out there, please please fix your holiday movie generator to reflect the current holiday season. Thank you so much, Dustin and Igor, and the gazillion podcast listeners that are our fans. Thank you. All right, it's randomized time. Here we go. Oh, off. I was wondering when we were gonna get something like this. DreamWorks Trolls.
DreamWorks Trolls? That's just because it's made by DreamWorks. Okay.
Trolls. Yeah.
What's the year?
2016.
2016. That's a good year.
It's a jukebox musical comedy film.
What? Jukebox?
Yep. I don't know what that means, but
musical comedy. That's always a good
musical comedy.
Good mixture.
Based on the trolls. Based on those, those little toy trolls with the big hair.
I never got into those, never played with them.
Well, no,
I know of them,
but
yeah.
I'm sure you know of them, yes.
I know of them more from The Simpsons because Bart plays with one during church, and then Marge looks at it and it's like, awful hair. And then he scrolls back to her hair because it's a blue-haired troll doll. That was beautiful. No, it'll be fine. This came out after Shrek, right? So they're just using Shrek's popularity, because I think Shrek was DreamWorks, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think you're right.
And it was also a musical comedy. If you think about the fact that they did have music.
I guess that is true. Let's see. It made a lot of money. $347 million against a $125 million budget. Actually, that's a little bit low. I think that's a little bit low because I think they want 3 times the budget. I think is their.
Yeah, but that's still pretty good. Jeez,
it's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good. Critical response. Rotten Tomatoes has 76%.
That's pretty good, actually.
Metacritic is 55 out of 100.
Metacritic, who cares about that?
Cinema Score. Audience is pulled by Cinema Score. Average grade of A, and Post Track. I don't know what Post Track is. I've never even heard of that before. 80% overall positive.
What did Roger and Ebert say?
What? They're dead.
No, but what did they say about it back then?
In 2016, they were still dead.
Oh, really? Oh.
Well, one of them isn't. Are they both dead, or is just one of them?
I think one of them was dead. Maybe one of them's
alive
alive
is dead
again.
for sure. Well, I know one of them's dead for sure. I don't know if they're both dead.
But still, I'm sure they had an opinion. At least one of them.
No, I don't see. Associated Press said a good thing. Chicago Sun-Times, 3.5 out of 4. New York Times said good things. Hollywood Reporter was mixed. The Wrap, barely there characterization and irritating cutesiness of the Smurfs with the hideous character design and awful pop covers of Strange Magic. I don't know what Strange Magic is.
Oh, I'm looking forward to watching this now. The irritating cuteness. Come on, what more could you want?
Well, I don't know. Oh, it's got Anna Kendrick. I like Anna Kendrick.
The make or break for this movie will be how well they animated the hair, because that's really the biggest thing about Trolls.
Well,
right?
with the Trolls, it's true. Yeah, Anna Kendrick, Justin Timberlake.
Wow, it's during his movie phase.
Yep. Zoe Deschanel, James Corden. Yeah.
Jeez, they got
Russell Brand.
They got some really heavy hitters in this movie as voice actors. I wouldn't expect that.
I don't know. Trolls is like a big. I don't know if Trolls was a big thing in 2016, but Trolls is kind of like has always kind of been a big thing. Like I said, I didn't own Trolls. I think it was more of a girls.
Trolls was more for girls.
I think so, because they were like dolls, right?
Yeah, but it's strange to me. I don't actually know who liked Trolls, given that like you'd have Barbies. Why wouldn't a girl want to play with Barbies instead?
I guess that's true. Yeah, who was Trolls made for?
Is it just because you comb their hair? Okay, but Barbie has hair as well, and it's more human-like.
Yeah, I don't know who this was really. I don't know who they were made for, but I always kind of figured they were always. I don't want to necessarily say popular, but like they were always around.
We'll see.
I guess we'll see. Yeah, it's a different kind of movie. We haven't done a movie like this yet.
In what way?
One of these animated
Oh, we
kind of
haven't
kids
had an
movies.
animated one yet, have we?
No, I don't think we had an animated one at all. Yeah. Musical. We haven't had a proper musical. So there you go. So we're mixing a few things in there.
I guess you're right. We didn't have any musicals.
Wonder what kind of music is in here. Probably not good music.
Well, I mean, hopefully some good original stuff, stuff that stays with you. You can sing it in the shower to your workmates.
Well, yeah, I'll just go in the office one day and start singing the soundtrack to
Trolls.
the 2016 DreamWorks hit Trolls. Well, on that note, what do you have for us for the word of the fortnight?
The word of the fortnight this time around is arrogate. It's a verb. It means to take or claim for one's own without right, to attribute to another, especially without good reason. And my example is, he arrogated the already booked room for himself. And and I didn't spell it. It's ARROGATE. And I heard this word at the beginning of Genshin Impact, which I started playing recently. And I heard it as the noun, though, as arrogation. They said something like the arrogation of mankind or something really pompous. But, I thought, oh, wow, what the hell does this mean? And it's interesting. I liked it.
You could have tied arrogate into our movie talk because they arrogated the campground from the mining company.
That's true. They actually did it that way.
Yeah. I mean, the mining company kind of, well, no, they didn't. They did it legally, technically. Slimy, but legally. But, what the camp did, what Ernest's group did to the mining company, they definitely arrogated it.
That's a good lesson to teach children. You can arrogate stuff, even without legal right to do so.
But only until you're 18.
Yeah, exactly. Be careful once you turn 18.
Yeah, then you'll have problems. Yeah.
Be free while you can.
While your criminal record can still be expunged when you turn of age. Yeah.
And before you're tried as an adult.
Also, yeah, don't do anything that's going to get you tried as an adult, even as a kid. Yeah, that's a good lesson also.
Or just be in a state where that never happens.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
I'm sure there's states where no child is ever tried as an adult. They're just submitted to an insane asylum or something.
Well, they put them in juvie, right?
Yeah, but I think if they do something really severe, like if a child murders somebody, then it's difficult to say what happens. Some states will probably try them as an adult. Some of them could put them in an insane asylum or something similar. That's a difficult thing to decide.
Kids, if you're watching this, if you're one of the gazillions of people who are watching this.
Oh, bajillions.
I don't know what's higher up. I don't know what goes past trillions, to be fair.
It doesn't matter. They're all parallel, but we can use synonyms.
What? They're not all parallel.
We need to be realistic and say that we have a gazillion listeners and probably not more than that. I know it's disappointing to say, but gazillions might be what we're at right now.
Which is pretty low.
But hey, we got time to grow. If every one of those gazillion listeners tells their friends, at least one, we'll have another gazillion.
Yeah, let's get another gazillion by our 100th episode. All right, guys, that's your word of the fortnight. It's now time to judge some Pokemon cries. Do 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 do. We are judging the Pokemon cries of all the legendary Pokemon plus Scyther. We don't know who the cries belong to. You can find that out at top3.welcome.fm. However, for us, it's a blind cry competition. We'll find out who cries what at the end. But right now, we're literally just judging the cries. So here we go. We're well into round 3, nearing the end of it. So these are all the best of the best. And we've heard them all. So it's just a matter of finding the best one now. All right, we're in matchup 76 between Pokemon 3 and 30. Here's number 3.
Oh, yeah, okay. It's the little frog.
That one threw me off. I didn't not expect that as the first one.
It's a good sound.
I didn't expect that. Yeah, that's a good sound. It's different. And 30. There you go. That's what I expected.
It's just a cat.
But he has got like metal claws or something. Or maybe that's what, because these are supposed to be cries. He actually makes that sound.
Yeah, somehow his vocal cords make the sound of metal scratching.
Yeah, maybe he's got metal in his throat that grates on each other
Oh,
as
that's
it
true.
screams.
That's a really good point, actually.
See, maybe that's what it is.
That's how it digests its food. It uses those metal claws to break it down.
Yeah, it like slices it up and dices it on its way down, so it's easier to digest.
I'm sure Game Freak has that as its description for the Pokemon.
Yeah, I'm sure. Pretty positive on that one. All right, who do you got on this one? The frog or the metal throat?
I like
The metal
both of
throat
them.
goat.
I don't know. I like both of them, actually. I'm kind of wondering. I guess we both voted for the frog, right?
I'm going for 3. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the 2.
I like the difference. I like the difference.
It's funny though because apparently the cat we tied on that one, so maybe I preferred whatever the 94 was, the one before, but it doesn't matter. Let's go for 3.
All right, we're going for 3. 3's moving on. All right, here's matchup 77 between 78 and 83. Here's 78.
Okay, just a loud bird.
Those are like the two stereotypical sounds: the deep roar and the high-pitched crystalline chirp thing.
It's not that
All
crystalline.
mixed into one. Oh, maybe not. Maybe not.
It's just
but
it's just
still
very
kind of a
shrill.
high-pitched bird cry. Yeah. And 83.
Oh yeah, this is the drill. I love this one. It's like a drill bit going into metal.
This is an early Pokemon for sure.
It's such a good one. I like that one.
Like I'd be surprised if that. I would say that's
Scyther.
something maybe like. No, I don't think it's Scyther. I could see that being like maybe. I was gonna say Zapdos, but maybe not. But it sounds like an earlier one. It sounds like it's lower quality than.
But it sounds like a drill. Come on, it's beautiful.
Sounds a little. It does actually sound like a drill. Yeah, it does sound like a drill. All right, I'll go with 88.
83.
88, or sorry, 83. 83's taking it. 83's taking it. All right, last matchup of the day, because we're only doing 3 at this point, is matchup 78 between 70 and 27. Here's 70.
That's the barbershop barber pole, but music sound effect of it instead.
But also the slide whistle.
Whistle, yeah, that's the other one.
The deep slide whistle, yeah. And 27.
Okay, that's like a robot transforming.
Yeah, or powering down or something.
Or powering down,
powering
actually.
up.
Yeah, you're right. It's powering down. No, I prefer that one, actually. 27.
You prefer 27?
Yeah.
I prefer 70.
I don't know.
I prefer 70. I like the I like the deep slide whistle.
We'll play 27 again.
Okay. That one just sounds generic.
Well, I guess it does in a way. And play 70 again? Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one. This is one of those situations where I don't really prefer one over the other too much. So yeah, we can go with 70. I don't really I'm not willing to die on this hill for 27, so let's just go with 70.
Poor 27. Somebody likes it, but not enough to back it up.
Well, yeah, because I don't know. It's not bad, but it's not great.
Yeah, no, there's nothing special about it. I don't think.
But the slide whistle as well, for me, like if I compare it to maybe whatever the next thing comes up, I'll probably not pick the slide whistle, and maybe I'll fight for whatever the other one is more.
That's fair. All right, well, for this round, 70 is moving on. And that's all we have for today. 3 nice quick ones. That's what we like. All right, guys, that's it from us today. Have a splendiferous spring. Spring's here now. That's wild.
March 21st it starts?
Yep.
Yeah, I guess it is spring.
So we're a little bit into it. But it's just nice to be able to say spring is here. So there you go. All right, guys. Ciao.